In Pakistan, the first victims of a devastating New Year's Day attack were buried today. At least 96 people died when a suicide car bomber drove into a crowded volleyball game, and the rubble is being searched for more bodies. The village had been fighting to resist Taliban infiltration. The CIA is vowing to avenge the deaths of 7 agents who were killed at one of its bases in a volatile region of Afghanistan. Tonight, we have new evidence that the bomber was someone the agency knew. Nick Schifrin has the story from Kabul.
Along the Afghan-Pakistan border, America's most dangerous enemies have a safe haven, and the CIA officers killed this week were trying to break that. ABC News has learned the suicide bomber was a regular informant for the CIA, a Pakistani who had been invited onto the base multiple times. On Wednesday afternoon, he was driven from the Pakistani border into the camp by the camp's security director. He wasn't even searched. At least 13 CIA officers gathered to meet him for an intelligence briefing when he blew himself up.
The CIA is trying to hunt and kill Islamic militants on both sides of the border. In order to do that, they need to recruit spies. That's the highest calling of a CIA officer overseas, to put a spy in the enemy's camp.
Those camps are on the Pakistani side of the border and hold the most senior al-Qaeda and Taliban leaders. The CIA officers were part of the covert campaign to kill them with unmanned aerial drones and paramilitary operations.
To go after the Taliban on the Pakistani side of the border, the United States relies almost exclusively on its Predator drones. But those Predator drones require agents on the ground to direct them, to say, this is where you should be looking.
The risks for the CIA are only expected to increase here. The agency is expanding its operations both in Pakistan and in Afghanistan. Today, the CIA said its resolve was greater than ever, and it vowed revenge on an enemy that managed to infiltrate one of its most important bases. Nick Schifrin, ABC News, Kabul.
We turn now to former CIA agent Bob Baer, who knows that part of the world very well. Bob, you were stationed in that part of the world for years. What kind of damage does an attack like this do on our ability to gather information?
I think it's catastrophic simply because the CIA is going to be very reluctant to send people out in the field and have them meet Afghans for fear of being killed by a suicide bomber. It's that simple.
Can you ever be sure the people you're meeting with are legit?
You can never be sure. You will always run the risk of getting blown up by somebody with a vest. It's going to always be present.
And what does it say that the Taliban was essentially able to infiltrate the CIA? Isn't it supposed to be the other way around?
Well, it's not a question of infiltrating. What they did was they met this asset inside the base because they were worried about an ambush and kidnapping a CIA officer. Normally, an officer would go out and meet one-on-one an agent like this, but you can't do that any longer in Afghanistan because you will be kidnapped. So they brought the guy in where there was some sort of protection.
Bob, if you're stationed overseas right now, what's going through your head?
I would be very reluctant as a case officer to go out anywhere in Afghanistan, including Kabul, to meet a source like this. And what I think is going to happen is we're going to know less and less about the country rather than more, simply because we've been cut off from the people.
All right, Bob Baer, former CIA agent, thanks very much.